What are some of the issues that you would like to see fixed in the UK?
Immigration, number one. It's the root of nearly all our problems, is mass immigration. People can talk about GDP to me until they're blue in the face. I don't care. Our quality of life has deteriorated. I went to meet her and it's in Bayswater. You know Bayswater?
It's a nice neighbourhood.
We were sitting in a cafe and I was looking around and it was like everybody there was Arabic. Everybody.
Wow.
We need to build more houses. We are building more houses. Go out of London where I'm moving to. There's houses everywhere being built. It's actually annoying. It's like, oh my God, there used to be a park there, now there's a house. And you know who's moving there? People from London. People who work hard are moving from London and they're commuting in. So get this, they are going out of London to pay for people who don't work to live in London. I've been sexually assaulted in a library at 4 p.m. in front of my son from a migrant. So I took
Wait, what? My name is Stefan Tompson. I'm the founder of Visegrad 24 and I'm in London with Kezia Noble, who's a political commentator and recently stood in an election for reform. Kezia, lovely to have you.
Thank you for having me on.
What are some of the issues that you would like to see fixed in the UK that are motivating you into from transitioning from being an entrepreneur to being a...
Immigration, number one.
That's really, that is the issue.
It's the root of nearly all our problems, is mass immigration. So, interesting fact, in 1987, how many people do you think were coming in a year? What was net migration in 1987 into the UK?
100,000 a year?
7,000 a year.
7,000 a year were coming in 1987.
1987. So what you had basically throughout history is you had that was around the mark for a long time, about 7,000. And you would increase it some years when you needed it, and you would decrease it when you didn't need it so much. So it kind of worked, year by year. Now, it's just the floodgates are open. There's no one sitting there saying, well, actually, we don't need 1 million this year. We only need 400,000. I don't think that's happening anymore. They're just letting everybody in. So basically, I have seen in my lifetime our expectations and our quality of life deteriorate. So, for instance, number one, the biggest problem that people are facing in this country is a housing crisis. It's the biggest problem. Why is it the biggest problem? Because if you don't have a roof over your head, you don't have that stability, or you're paying, or a woman and a man have to go out and work to pay the extortionate rent or the mortgage, then what happens is they can't afford to have a family. And if they do, it's limited to maybe 1 to 2 children. And then you have the argument, which is, well, this is why we need more people to come in, because the native people can't afford to have more children. So we'll just bring in more people. Now, what does that do? That puts even more pressure on the housing. But the thing is, even now, the immigrants who are coming into this country are finding it a struggle to have, to provide for lots of children. So what do? Oh, let's bring in more people. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's like a never-ending cycle. So what happens is, look, so I'm jumping here a little bit, but when I was growing up, and this is not 100 years ago, we're talking like mid-90s. It was understood that you work hard, you leave home around 19, 21, you get a small studio flat, and then you save up, and then you get a terrace house or a nice apartment in London. Everything was doable. So by the time you're 25, 26, you could start a family. This is like mid-90s, okay? I would even stretch it to say that was a possibility to the early 2000s. Now it's a pipe dream, and it shouldn't be a pipe dream. This is a first world country. We are a wealthy country, and I feel like we're almost going back to Victorian Britain, where the country was wealthy, the country was at its peak power, in the world, and the people were living in slums. That's what I feel like's happened. So people can talk about GDP to me until they're blue in the face. I don't care. Our quality of life has deteriorated. And I can tell you, even from my sister, I've got a lot to say on this. So my sister's 10 years younger than me. Big age gap. I was a naughty kid. They were stressed. They wanted to wait. So she's got a completely different perception of like what her expectations should be than mine, with a 10-year difference between us, just 1 decade. So she's like, I will never be able to afford a home. Like I have to live in the middle of nowhere in a flat if I want a roof over my head. So she's now living in central. This is completely abnormal, by the way. She's 35. She's a school teacher. So she is actually bringing value to society.
Sure.
She's worked hard. She's 35, no kids. She's living at my father's house in central London. She can't afford to move out. This is not normal. And yet I went to meet her, and it's in Bayswater. You know
Sure.
Bayswater?
It's a nice neighborhood.
We were sitting in a cafe, and I was looking around, and it was like everybody there was Arabic. Everybody.
Wow.
Maybe
I haven't been to Bayswater in a good few years.
Everyone speaking Arabic. Everyone was Arabic. And I said, what do these people do as a job to live in this prime location?
Bayswater is a central
You are a
London location.
teacher, and you are only living here because our dad bought a house here in 1970, who knows, right? What are all these people doing? Are they all doctors? Are they all teachers? Are they scientists? What are they doing? They're probably mini cab drivers, cash in hand, working in restaurants, claiming. Now, Bayswater is a prime location because of where it's set. So I grew up there, and I always thought, wow, this is great because you're kind of like central, but you're not. You have the park there.
You have the park.
So
And the Thames.
So everybody that I see there are either super wealthy, and this is what I noticed in Kensington and Chelsea, super wealthy in a bubble, or they're on some sort of
Benefit scheme.
some sort of housing top-ups or something. And I said, this is not normal. And she's kind of like, yeah, you're right. Like she needed me to tell her this is not normal. So I'm not like harking back to the good old days of the 1950s. I'm talking mid-90s. So all my friends, we managed to buy a house, start a family. So it just took 1 decade for everybody to start living, to compromise on their expectations. And we shouldn't compromise. And I put it down to immigration. If you flood the country with people, it's not rocket science. That's just going to increase demand. Oh, but we need to build more houses. We are building more houses. Go out of London, where I'm moving to. There's houses everywhere being built. It's actually annoying. It's like, oh my God, there used to be a park there. Now there's a house. And you know who's moving there? People from London. People who work hard are moving from London, and they're commuting in. So get this, they are going out of London
To be able to afford to work.
to pay for people who don't work to live in London.
It's unbelievable.
People who you can't even say, well, this is our problem. It's like, it's white English, British people who don't want to work. This is people coming over, and they're not stopping. They're not, every time, like, I know people, I know my kid's school used to be, when he started there 7 years ago, it was predominantly Europeans. Okay, they are also immigrants, fine. And I still think that puts pressure, by the way. I think, yes, they are contributing much more, and that their values are more similar to ours, for sure. But it's still like keeping up house prices. But when I was there, it was like 70% French, Italian, and Spanish. Within 7 years, it's Arabic. It's like they have the call to prayer. Do you know that? They invited us to Eid, and they had the call to prayer in the middle of the school, the call to prayer. Now, I actually attended because my son, he was like, oh, I really want to go, I want to see it. So I said, okay, fine, we'll go see it. Look, don't get me wrong, they were very nice. They were very sweet there. No problem, okay? And honestly, the kids that go to the school are really nice kids, and the parents are not bad either. So I don't want to say these are evil, wicked people or anything. But what I notice is that there's no Easter. So it's a non-faith school.
Yeah.
And it always has been. That's what we wanted, actually. But they don't have Easter or anything, but they have Eid. So we went, and we thought it was going to be like food, breaking the fast. But then I heard the call to prayer in the middle of the school.
So it became religious suddenly.
I just felt...
That you specifically sent your child to a non-faith school, and suddenly the only faith that's being represented is Islam.
Essentially, yeah.
Do you feel that there's a third worldization of the UK?
Yes, 100%.
What do you understand by the term third worldization? How would you describe that?
So when I walk down the road, I see behaviour that I didn't see growing up. Again, I've got to keep reinforcing this. I am not coming from 1950s Britain. This is 90s, even 2000s. I saw men the other day all eating on the floor. on the pavement. I thought they were tramps. Like homeless people. They weren't. They were just like guys who thought this is normal. We need to eat on the floor, like plates on the floor and things.
Yeah.
And some people go, well, it doesn't really matter. They're not hurting anyone. Sure, they're not actually hurting anyone, but I don't want to see this. Just like if I went to Saudi Arabia or a Muslim country, I cover myself. I go to Morocco a lot and I know I have to cover myself. I don't need to cover my face, but it's just, that's their culture. Exactly. I tell you what I see a lot, which I never remember, and I don't see this outside of the big cities, is men, not elderly men your age, just hanging about.
Loitering.
What was that word that came out? It wasn't loitering, there was another word, and it was a really good word, and I've forgotten it. It's really annoying, but it was something that comes from India. So my mum, she went to India for work, and she said, I remember going to India and all these men walking around.
Doing nothing.
Doing nothing.
It's a very strange phenomenon that really is...
Yes, and you have it in the Middle East.
Very alien to Europe. It's a fundamentally non-European thing to do, of just hanging out.
You never
and
saw
the other
it.
really strange thing is, I saw a number of photos on an X account of just random men sitting on war memorials smoking. It's just kind of very alien to anything European. You just wouldn't sit on a war memorial to go smoke a cigarette. It's just not something we would do.
So she remembers saying, I saw these men everywhere. She goes, now I'm seeing it in London. And they're just sort of roaming the streets. And I think that's unhealthy. And the face coverings, that's not very English. I don't like men walking around with like Hamas-style masks in the summertime, walking around. I just see it a lot more. I've been sexually assaulted in a library at 4 p.m. in front of my son from a migrant. So I took my son.
What?
No, this is a thing. This happened. So
in a library
at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Wow.
So the migrants have started hanging around at the library and they eat their food there. So basically, they go to the children. You're not allowed to have a crisp packet, but they can sit there with all their like food, their hot food, and eat in there. And I was like, there's a children's library. Like the children's library is connected to the adult library. You can't, it's not separate rooms.
Sure.
And they were all standing there. And I was like, this is so inappropriate. And they weren't hurting the children. I was just like, again, it's that feeling that this isn't normal. And then one of the guys started masturbating in front of me.
Wait.
Yeah.
As in a library at 4 o'clock in the afternoon in front of children.
I came in with my son.
He whips his penis out and starts masturbating.
Hold on. So I came in and he's staring at me and I knew he was giving this very sexualized look. And I thought, okay, just ignore it. And then my son went off that way. And then he put his hands in his trousers and started groaning and stuff. So the problem is I had to get out of there and I had to get my son out of there and not let my son know what was happening, because that would have really disturbed him. So I remember taking him out, running down the street, and he's like, what's wrong? And I said, oh, there was a pickpocket in there. I don't want to get my wallet stolen. This is not in a back alley somewhere at 5 o'clock in the morning. This is daylight. I used to go, I'm just like, I can list off for hours, because you've just asked me like third worlding. Look, we went to there's a park around the corner from me. Don't go there anymore. I've had what I noticed, and it's crept up in the last 4 or 5 years dramatically, because I've been there for 5 years. So I used to go to this park, never had a problem. Then I noticed what you mentioned, like a lot of men sitting around, daytime drinking. I noticed
doing nothing.
Doing nothing.
Doing nothing.
But the smell of weed is increasing. I noticed that. And then I started seeing drug deals going on in there. Then I started seeing men walking around talking to women. I was like, I really don't feel comfortable with this. And then finally, I had one guy, probably on drugs or psychotic, mixture of both probably. And he came up to me and said, I'm going to get you, blah, blah, blah. And then I realized he thought I was a rival gang member, because obviously I fit the description, right? And he's screaming at me. I was like, I've got to get out of here. So I went to the gardeners who look after the park and I said, look, this guy's on the loose. Like literally someone needs to stop him, because he's going up to other people. And they were so good. They ran after him. They chased him out. And I said, hold on, this isn't your job. You're the gardener. They're like, it's happening all the time. Please do nothing. Went there a month later, saw a police van coming down the lane. I thought, yes, Yes.
They're getting these guys.
No, they weren't. They were getting women like me. They were stopping women who had their little chihuahuas off the lead. And they were being really aggressive with them, like shouting. Okay, another thing. In my square, I live in one of the most expensive squares in London, okay? So you can't say, well, you live on a council estate, Kezia, you know, you're gonna have to like suck it up. No. And we're getting people taking crack on the street. I've had 2 non-fatal stabbings outside my house. We've had cats being stolen, caught on CCTV. I had to rescue one, poor thing. 90% of it migrants, I would say.
And it's the
90%.
disappearing, the third worldization is really the disappearing of the so-called third space of human life is organized around 3 main spaces. It's your home life, your work life, and the public square. And there's essentially this encroachment, increasing encroachment where you can't go out to places like a park.
Yes.
Like sort of cafe culture in a certain neighborhood disappears, and you sort of have a retrenchment into the home and into work. With some cases, there's been cases that I've heard about of certain neighborhoods which used to have office buildings where simply female workers working from the tube station to the office became too dangerous. This happened to be in a Paris neighborhood, and they ended up moving the offices because the cost of providing security to women going from the tube station into their workspace just wasn't worth it.
I've noticed
This is a very shocking thing to me.
I've got videos also I'll show you afterwards. So my local Sainsbury's, I get anxiety going to my Sainsbury's now, which is like a joke, but they've put all this like bulletproof stuff up like where the cashier is. And I was like, what is all this? And they're like, we're getting attacked here. And I was like, I'm feeling anxious because I've got bikes coming up and down with guys en masse. Again, one of the most expensive areas in London. So I can't imagine what's happening in other areas. And you're getting guys coming in there. I had another guy touching himself in there also, absolutely off his head on drugs. And then I got a video, and I went there at lunchtime, and I couldn't get in the front door because of all these delivery bikes. Don't give a shit about whoever wants to come in. And then they're just with their helmets on, lined up inside, so you can't even get through. And I was like, what country is this? This doesn't look like... Look, London has always been multicultural. I've grown up in a multicultural society. It was fine. Like, you had areas of London where you're like, oh, this area is like the Irish area, this is the Jewish area, this is the black area. And I'm not seeing that now. It's just like, it seems to be all kind of Arabic. It's not these... Like, I went to Golders Green the other day.
Of course.
And Golders Green used to be like a really Jewish area.
Sure.
And there are still a lot of Jews there. But I'm seeing increasing amount of Arabs there suddenly, and people from other countries. So I was like, this isn't such a Jewish area as I remember. Do you see what I mean? So there's nothing wrong with a city being multicultural. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what cities are like. They've been like that. But I'm finding like we're getting very third world.
A third world monoculture.
For me, it's all about numbers. I think if you just kept to the 8,000 to 10,000 people a year, no matter where they were from, people would have had no problem with it.
We will do a follow-up, Kezia, sooner or later, hopefully sooner. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. That was great.